"You are done, Kash. Say goodbye to your career," said Jasmine Crockett sharply. Her voice cut through the tense atmosphere of the congressional hearing room like a knife. The packed gallery fell silent as Representative Crockett leaned forward, her eyes locked on Kash Patel sitting across the table. Patel smirked, adjusting his tie with a casual flick of his wrist. "That's a strong statement from someone who doesn't have her facts straight," he replied, his voice dripping with condescension. "Maybe if you spent less time making accusations and more time reading the actual reports." "I've read every word of those reports," Crockett interrupted, slapping her hand on the stack of documents before her. "Unlike you, I don't cherry-pick information to fit my narrative. The American people deserve the truth, not your spin." The hearing had started normally enough. The congressional committee was investigating allegations of mishandled classified documents, with both Crockett and Patel called as witnesses due to their previous roles in government oversight. But what began as a formal proceeding quickly devolved when Patel made a dismissive comment about certain representatives who were playing politics instead of serving the country. Crockett, never one to let such remarks slide, had immediately recognized the thinly veiled attack. "Mr. Patel, if you have something to say about my service to this country, I suggest you say it directly," she had challenged, setting the stage for what was now becoming an increasingly heated exchange. "The documents clearly show that protocols were broken," Crockett continued, flipping open a folder. "Your signature is right here, authorizing access to sensitive information without proper clearance. How do you explain that?" Patel's face reddened. "That's a complete mischaracterization," he snapped. "Those authorizations were within my authority as what? Someone who believed they were above the law?" Crockett shot back. "This committee has sworn testimony from 3 separate officials contradicting your version of events." The committee chair banged his gavel, calling for order, but neither Crockett nor Patel seemed to notice. "Those officials have their own agendas," Patel countered, his voice rising. "And frankly, Representative Crockett, so do you. This is nothing but a political witch hunt designed to distract from the real issues facing our country." Crockett laughed, a short, sharp sound devoid of humor. "A witch hunt? That's rich coming from someone who spent years promoting conspiracy theories. The only witch hunt I see is the one you conducted against career public servants who refused to bend to political pressure," the audience murmured as Patel shuffled through his notes, clearly thrown off balance by Crockett's direct approach. "Let me remind you," Crockett continued, her voice steady and forceful, "that you are under oath today. Your previous statements to the media don't match what's in these documents. That's not just sloppy, Mr. Patel. That's potentially perjury." Patel's lawyer leaned over to whisper something in his ear, but he waved the man away. "I've spent my career defending this country," he said, his voice taking on a rehearsed quality. "I won't sit here and be accused of—" "You'll sit there and answer the questions," Crockett cut in. "That's how this works. Your career choices don't exempt you from accountability." The room grew uncomfortably warm as the exchange intensified. Junior staffers looked nervously at each other, while veteran committee members recognized they were witnessing something that would dominate the news cycle for days. "Let's get specific," Crockett said, pulling out a document and sliding it across the table. "This memo dated July 15th shows you were directly informed that the procedure you authorized violated Section 12.3 of the Security Protocol. Yet 3 days later, you signed off on the same procedure again. Why?" Patel stared at the document, his confident expression faltering. "I don't recall seeing this memo," he said finally. "You don't recall?" Crockett repeated, incredulity clear in her voice. "It was sent to your official email. We have the receipt showing you opened it. Are you claiming now, under oath, that you didn't read critical security communications addressed directly to you?" Sweat beaded on Patel's forehead as camera shutters clicked throughout the room. The committee chair looked at his watch, aware that this exchange was running well beyond the scheduled time, but reluctant to interrupt what was becoming a defining moment of the hearings. "Perhaps Mr. Patel needs a moment to refresh his memory," Crockett suggested, her tone making it clear she believed no amount of time would help his case. Patel dabbed his forehead with a handkerchief, clearly stalling for time. "My email received hundreds of messages daily. The fact that it was opened doesn't mean I personally reviewed it." "Convenient," Crockett replied, not missing a beat. "But this wasn't just any email. It was flagged urgent, and your assistant has already testified that she specifically brought it to your attention. So I'll ask again, why did you authorize the same procedure after being warned it violated security protocols?" The gallery watched with rapt attention as Patel shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Several committee members who had been checking their phones now looked up, sensing the momentum had shifted decisively. "The circumstances were different," Patel said finally. "The second authorization was for an emergency situation that required immediate action." Crockett smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I was hoping you'd say that." She pulled another document from her folder. "Because we have the request form for that second authorization right here. Nowhere does it indicate an emergency situation. In fact, it's marked routine processing and scheduled with 5 days lead time. Would you like to revise your statement?" Patel's lawyer frantically whispered in his ear again, and this time Patel listened, nodding slightly before turning back to face Crockett. "I may have confused this with another matter," he admitted reluctantly. "Or perhaps you're confused about what the truth is," Crockett responded. "This committee has spent months untangling a web of half-truths and outright falsehoods. Your name appears at critical junctures throughout our investigation." Patel's composure finally broke. "This is ridiculous. You're twisting everything to fit your narrative. Where was this concern for security protocols when your party was in charge? The hypocrisy is stunning." "This isn't about parties, Mr. Patel," Crockett replied, her voice suddenly quiet but carrying throughout the silent room. "This is about the law. This is about national security. And this is about public servants who broke their oath because they thought their loyalty to certain individuals outweighed their duty to the country." She stood up, gathering her papers methodically while maintaining eye contact with Patel. "Your attempts to deflect and distract might work on cable news, but not here, not today." "You don't know what you're talking about," Patel sputtered, his face now flushed with anger. "You weren't there. You don't understand the pressures we were under or the decisions we had to make." "Pressure doesn't excuse breaking the law," Crockett responded firmly. "Many public servants faced the same pressures you did. The difference is they chose to uphold their oath." The committee chair finally intervened, calling for a 15-minute recess. As officials began filing out, reporters rushed to the doors, already crafting headlines about the explosive confrontation. Patel remained seated, conferring urgently with his legal team. Across the room, Crockett gathered her materials, accepting nods of approval from several committee members. When the hearing resumed, Patel appeared more controlled, clearly having been coached during the break. But the damage was done. His credibility had been severely undermined, and everyone in the room knew it. "Let's continue where we left off," Crockett said as the session reopened. "Mr. Patel, I'd like to discuss the meetings that occurred between January 4th and January 6th. According to calendar entries we've obtained, you attended 3 separate meetings that were not disclosed in your previous testimony. Those meetings were unrelated to the matters under investigation," Patel replied stiffly. "That's not for you to decide," Crockett countered. "The committee determines what's relevant, not the witness. And given that these undisclosed meetings involved individuals who were central to our investigation, their relevance seems clear." For nearly an hour, Crockett methodically dismantled Patel's defenses, exposing contradictions between his current testimony and previous statements, highlighting discrepancies in documentation, and questioning the credibility of his explanations. By the time the chair called the final recess, Patel looked defeated. The confident, dismissive attitude he'd displayed at the beginning of the Hearing had evaporated completely. As the room cleared, Crockett approached Patel at the witness table. Cameras caught their exchange from a distance. "You had a choice," she said quietly. "You could have come clean, told the truth, and helped this committee do its job. Instead, you chose obstruction and deception. That's why your career is over. Not because of me, but because of you." Patel stared back at her, his expression unreadable. Then, without a word, he gathered his papers and walked out, trailed by his legal team and a swarm of reporters shouting questions he refused to answer. Outside the hearing room, Crockett faced the press with composed determination. "Today wasn't about political theater," she told the gathered reporters. "It was about accountability. No one is above the law, no matter who they worked for, no matter what position they held. That's the message the American people need to hear." As footage of the hearing dominated news cycles in the days that followed, political analysts would point to this confrontation as a defining moment, when careful preparation and unwavering persistence prevailed over evasion and spin, when truth finally caught up to those who had long avoided its consequences.